Art Talk listeners, the Art Experience, Susana Baker here, and we are very happy this morning. It's a sunny day in Miami, but it's sunnier in our radio station. We are very pleased to have this wonderful international breaking story that has been hitting all the media outlets, both nationally and international. It's about the Cuban defectors, 7 of them that defected a couple of weeks ago via Puerto Rico. They went to an event there to dance, and they decided to defect. And in the studio today, we have the assistant master to Pedro Pablo Peña, which is Hilberto Jimenez, who is the ballet master of Pedro Pablo Peña at the Warner House. Good morning, Hilberto. ¿Cómo está?
Good morning, Susan. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on our show. I know it was last minute. The Art Experience has been doing the Little Havana Cultural Tours. And that Little Havana Cultural Tour is showing the gems of Little Havana. We find that a lot of tourists that come into Little Havana, there's almost 800 tourists daily that come into Little Havana, and all they get to see is Domino's Park, go into a souvenir shop, put their heads through a little wooden sculpture of a big booty lady, playing maracas, and that's it. And they get back on the double-decker buses, and they go back home, and they say, well, I was in Little Havana. What did you do? I saw a bunch of old men play dominoes, and I saw some people playing congas, and that was it. Our mission for Little Havana is to bring the story, the real, true story of the beautiful Cuban people. Their sacrifices, their way of living, to come to a country looking for new frontiers, and that's what Little Havana stands for. Just like the river, the Miami River, where many people come through that river looking for freedom from the oppressed, from political oppression, from religious oppression, from financial oppression. They're looking for freedom. And so what we do as a company in the Art Experiences is bring the visitor to know the story, the whole story. And in our mission, we went to the Warner House a couple of weeks ago to bring you as part of our tour. And when I found out that in the Warner House, besides the wonderful rich history of that property, which was in 1912 by the Warner family, 22 bedrooms, gorgeous mansions sitting on the banks of the river by the Warner family. They used to have their floral shops. It eventually became many other different organizations, got closed down, and Pedro Pablo Peña got a grant, several grants, and restored that property to its majestic beauty. And not only outside, but inside that Warner House, there is a beating pulse. That beating pulse is many dancers wanting to reach their dreams. And those dreams are made a reality in fulfilling them by your master teaching of Hilberto Jimenez and Pedro Pablo Peña. But beyond the teaching of the local children, and Pedro Pablo Peña, everybody knows. I've heard so many, él le enseñó mi niña, mi nieta, mi tataranieta. He's been around. Hilberto Jimenez, tell us a little bit about your mission with Pedro Pablo Peña and the Miami Hispanic Cultural Center.
Well, 4 years ago, through the city, Pedro Pablo Peña got this beautiful house, the Warner House, as you said, which is a historical place, a landmark. And we have the Miami Hispanic Cultural Arts Center, which hosts 3 organizations that Pedro Pablo directs, which is the Creation Arts Center, the Miami Hispanic Ballet, which hosts the International Ballet Festival of Miami, coming up to Miami in September, the 2 first weekends of September, and the Cuban Classical Ballet of Miami. We also host at the house the Cuban Classical Ballet School and a music conservatory that we're planning to have as well. The house has a lot of activities, art exhibits, and so many other things. But basically, the Cuban Classical Ballet of Miami tries to bring all these Cuban dancers and all these Latin dancers that want to learn, and they want to give their art, or they bring in their art to the States. So we are giving them that opportunity to
to do that.
showcase their work.
That's fabulous. You know, Hilberto Jimenez, we're going to come right back. We have to take a commercial break. This is Susana Baker.
Heriberto Jimenez.
Gretel Batista.
Jaime Reitor.
We'll be right back after this commercial break. All right, so we are back here in the studios of the Money Man, and what we have on now for the Money Man is Art Talk, which is brought to you by the Art Experience, and I am Susana Baker. And in the studio, for those that are just tuning in, we have Hilberto Jimenez, which is the ballet master of Pedro Pablo Peña, who is the director, and they are with the Miami Hispanic Art Center. And in that, whoever knows Pedro Pablo Peña will know he has decades of teaching children throughout Miami and visiting children the techniques and mastering ballet and other dances as well. Now, Hilberto Jimenez is the assistant ballet master and the assistant director to the Warner House. So, Hilberto, back to what you were saying about how you guys took over this historical place, but my audience wants to hear the newest passionate project you have taken on. And that's not just to fulfill the local children wanting to learn the best ballet and going to the best ballet master like Hilberto Jimenez, the assistant director, or Pedro Pablo Peña, the director and the master, but to tell us the story about the 7 defectors. And today in our studio, we actually have our 8th defector, which I just realized that there was an 8 that came, and we are very happy. Jaime Reitor. Jaime Reitor. Now, Jaime, you look very young. How old are you?
I'm 23 years old.
23 years old. My God, you look like you're 17.
Well,
that's
thank
it.
you.
Oh, that's a good thing. Believe me.
Yeah.
When you get to my age, you're going to be so happy you look the way you do. Jaime, I have to tell you, when someone defects, and let me go back to Hilberto. Hilberto, explain to me why Pedro Pablo Peña and yourself, obviously I know the answer. Why would you want to house and go that extra mile to put a home over the roof of these 8 defectors? Can you tell us what was that mission, what was that vision that you saw when you went and said, this is what we're going to do?
Well, 8 years ago, Pedro Pablo founded the Cuban Classical Ballet of Miami, which, as its name says, is a company that wants to host all these Cuban dancers that defect. Every year, we have different people coming always. That's because they already know that we in Miami have a company that will help them and give them the chance and the opportunity to perform here in the States, and of course give them that freedom that they're looking for on their arts. So we have the chance to give these people not only the performance opportunity, but sometimes they have no families here on the States, and since we got this Warner House and all this space, we're trying to host them as well at the house. Also, we are looking for places where they can stay after they come, so we always try to house them in different places. But if they need, we offer them this house.
That's wonderful. Now, Jaime, tell me, what was your feelings and thoughts when you decided to defect? Because I'm assuming that when you defect Cuba, your family and friends and anyone who stays there is up for a real, story, a real, what was your feelings on doing that? And if you can't say it in English, maybe, Gretel, you can, answer. Jaime, si quiere tratar de decirme algo.
Ajá. Va a ser un poco difícil, pero voy a intentarlo, ¿ok?
Okay.
I felt like stuck in Cuba in my career. Like there's no opportunities in Cuba to dance and other styles to get on others frontiers. And I just always when I start to study to work when I realized that about the world in Cuba, I always want to be in a freedom place, like for do whatever I want, for forget a lot
freedom of expression as an artist was
yeah.
important. So your freedom of expression and knowing that you would not get that in Cuba and that you were being, like you said, stopped. You were being,
Stopped,
you felt
yeah.
like you were being
Frustrated
suffocated, frustrated because you're suffocated as an artist. That led you to make the decision, and a very brave one. What does that mean for families that stay behind? Can you make our American public, because everybody's listening to you right now. This is an international show via iHeartRadio and nationally syndicated. So let people know what it means for someone to say, okay, that's it, I've had it. I am going to put my life, because you put your life at risk when you're defecting, right? Because if you're caught, you're probably thrown in prison forever.
I
right?
know.
So you're making the choice of artistic freedom, but if I'm caught, it means jail forever.
I know. But I needed to take the risk.
You needed to take the risk.
Because my
otherwise...
life is an opportunity that no one had, you know? And I needed to take the risk for improving my life, for God, the freedom that I want.
Breaking those chains.
Yeah.
Because even if you're free walking the streets in Cuba, you feel like you're in a jail anyway. As an artist, I'm assuming. Greta, was that the same thing for you?
I actually came with my family about 9 years ago.
Okay.
But I dance in Cuba as well. And
both of you are dancers for the National Ballet of Cuba.
I was in the school because I was a little bit younger when I came. But
did your family defect totally as a defection, or did you come with por balsa?
I was claimed. My grandfather was here, so he actually claimed
so you were sponsored by a family here.
Yes.
All right, but can you tell me what happens when someone, because you're part of the Warner House, you're part of this support system to lend to Jaime, who's here as the 8th defector from the Cuban National Ballet. Via Puerto Rico, they left. Jaime's story was a little different. He actually managed to come from Cuba, which is a very strange story, but you are the 8th defector. Tell us a little bit what it is for someone or Enrique, why don't you tell me, you've been there for years. How long you been with Warner House?
Well, I've been working with Pedro Pablo. I'm from Bogota, Colombia.
I'm sorry.
And I started working with Pedro Pablo 25 years ago.
25 years ago. And you're an adopted Cuban because you're actually from Bogota, Colombia.
I'm Colombian, but then,
you're adopted.
You're in Miami, yes, of course.
Yeah, you've been injected. So now Hilberto Jimenez, who is the master ballet for Pedro Pablo Peña, who's the director for the Miami Cultural Hispanic Art Center in the Warner House here in Little Havana. Tell me, as you throughout the years have been supporting this system where not only teaching kids locally ballet and the mastering techniques, but also housing and supporting the defectors. What does a defector put online? What do they do when they decide that? What happens to their families? It's more than just saying, I'm going to be arrested. Doesn't it mean that it also can backfire to some of the families?
Well, I think years ago, it used to happen. It was worse when people defected years ago from Cuba because they will go after their families. Since I'm not Cuban, I don't know exactly what happened right now, what is going on right now to their families of the people that defect. But of course, every single day, there's so many people that want to leave that system, that want to have their freedom, that want to be in a different place where they can grow, they can do with their life what they want to do, with professional they want to grow, especially the dancers. They want to know different styles. They want to dance with other choreographers in different companies.
Of course.
So they're always looking for that freedom.
And you give them that sense of reality that they can, if they're able to defect and not get caught, they have a home here. They have a home in Miami. They're obviously embraced by the Cuban community and by me. I'm Puerto Rican and I love you guys. Anything I can do. I have a big house myself, so I don't know if I'm putting myself out there, but I would love to definitely help. We at the Art Experience and Money Man and Art Talk, we are big believers of empowering children and you are youth. You're the ones that are going to teach art. Pedro Pablo Peña taught everybody in Miami, as far as I'm
Very much.
concerned. And now Inberto Jimenez is helping, but it's your infusion of this wonderful. I have a friend of mine, Gio Darter, who is from Copper Bridge Foundation. He brings a lot of dance troops here from Cuba to Miami, Malpaso, different companies. And I've gone to these shows, and I mean, super, super talented. You guys that were dancing with the Jaime with the National City Ballet, your talent speaks for itself. And we're going to come right back. I'm Susana Baker.
Heriberto Jimenez.
Greta Batista.
Jaime Rector.
And we'll be right back on the Money Man Art Talk with the Art Experience. Okay, so we're back on Art Talk on the Money Man, and I'm Susana Baker. And I was just talking, we were just on the air with Hilberto Jimenez. If you're just tuning in, we have the 8th defector from Cuba who, in his own hands, on a passionate moment, he was issued a visa by Havana by mistake.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit, Jaime, in the best words you can, and I'll translate to my audience. Okay. This was interesting. During the commercial break, Jaime tells me my 7 dancers from the National Ballet of Cuba. You're from the National Ballet of Cuba, and they went to Puerto Rico. You went to Puerto Rico too?
No, I got my visa and my passport because I was suplente. Suplente.
You were the understudy. You were the understudy. So at the last moment, Cuba gave you a visa to go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, they fixed my papers too for if someone get sick or something.
Right, something sick. You got the papers to bring whoever back. So you were supposed to go to Puerto Rico to be the understudy, and instead you decided.
No. I stay in Cuba. It's just for in case, you know.
Just in case.
But they fixed my papers and they went to Puerto Rico, and 2 days after they left the country, the offices of United States in Cuba, they called me on my cell phone, and it never happens, and they told me you need to refill some papers that because your visa it's stuck, you know.
Well, you need to come into to get your visa corrected to go to Puerto Rico as the understudy.
Yeah, and they call me and they say that, and I will, and I
went,
and I went there, and they gave me my visa and my passport, and I wow, it was my freedom.
You were in shock.
Yeah, I was in shock. It never happens, you know.
Yes, that's like 1 in a trillion in Cuba.
Yeah, and I don't have money for buy the passport, the ticket, and I went to a cousin that I have there in Havana, and she
purchased the ticket for you.
Lent my money,
so you just went on the plane. This was the process of you getting the call as an understudy to get your visa, to get other papers in case another ballet dancer got sick in Puerto Rico to come back to Cuba. Your role and mission as the understudy was to go to Puerto Rico and relieve any dancer that might have gotten sick, giving them papers to come back to Cuba. But instead, you decide to go to Miami.
Yeah, I want to stay here. I want to be here.
You knew right there and then this was your ticket to freedom.
Yeah.
And you weren't going to hesitate for a moment.
Yeah.
So you ran to the airport, bought the ticket, your friend helped you, got on the plane. Did you know where you were going when you came to Miami? No? You had no one.
No.
You have no family here.
I don't have family here. I don't have no one. I just have friends, but I don't have the contacts of them.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I will sleep on the airport, on streets. I don't know, but I want
freedom. I'm coming to Miami. I'm not looking back. Your family didn't know at all. You just ran with it at the same day.
I have fear to call my mother.
You had
for
fear.
Fun because they can hear the conversation. I don't know what.
You were afraid to tell anybody in case they would get in trouble.
Yeah.
So you just kind of took it on your own to run to the airport, get on the plane, not knowing who you were going to see because you have no family here, right?
I don't have family
no
here.
friends or family. The few friends you have, you didn't have the phone numbers. So when you got to the airport, what did you do?
So I met a man.
And then you got a man, because we only got a few minutes, and I want to talk about this new dance performance. But you met a man who you didn't know, and he helped you.
He helped me. I told him the story.
And you stood in his house and everything, and here was you putting your heart on your sleeve, and here was some good citizen who said, wow, let me help this child, this youth, trying to find freedom, and more than anything from the National Ballet of Cuba, an amazing talent, amazing dancer, Jaime Reito. Thank you for being here. God bless you. I'm so happy you followed your dream. You're good looking, young. The world is at your feet. You will be a superstar. And you, Grete, you are beautiful too. And you follow that dream in an easier course versus this young boy who's the 8th defector, Hilberto Jimenez. You and Pedro Pablo Peña have been a true anchor and a real gem in the dance and artistic companies, as well as in Cuba, where Pedro Pablo Peña was the choreographer for the Lyrical Theater in Havana, also choreographer and dancer for the National Ballet. Now he's been here since 1980, a defector himself through the Marea boat lift. Hilberto Jimenez, you're adopted Cuban, but you're really Bogotá, Colombia.
Yes.
You're the ballet master. Tell us what we can look forward from the Warner House and the Miami Hispanic Cultural Arts Center.
Well, now for all your audience, for all the audience of this program, you have the chance to see these wonderful dancers that just defected from Cuba. We have a performance with them at the Miami-Dade County Auditorium on July 27, Sunday, July 27 at 5 p.m. Tickets are already available at the theater box office. Once again, that's Sunday, July 27th at 5 p.m. at the Miami-Dade County Auditorium. Our house, the Miami Hispanic Cultural Arts Center, is located at 111 Southwest 5th Avenue. We have the Cuban Classical Ballet of Miami School. So if you want to take all your children for Pedro Pablo to teach them and scream at them, that will be great.
But you know what? Perfectionists are like that, and at the end, that's what it takes. That's what it takes, because that's what you see here in front of. Jaime had the same teaching. I congratulate you and I salute you, young man, for putting that brave decision and coming to America and coming to Miami. Miami welcomes you and the world welcomes you, because we don't like dictators. We like freedom. We love freedom, and we ring out freedom for every single human being in this world. It should be their God-given right. And I'm sorry that you spend so many years suppressed like that. I'm very sad about that. With that said, Cuban Classical Ballet of Miami, go to their website, cubanclassicalballet.org.